to me, you got to take Matt Dumba over Eric Stahl. How about James Neal versus Colton Sissons? Now, there's maybe one that you say, okay, goals are hard to come by. James Neal's that guy over another young
I
forward.
think that's a no-brainer.
Well, but I think the real positive in the James Neal selection is the fact you can move him next March. You know, you'll get some goals out of him. And then you'll be able to measure whether you really can afford to let him go by then. Is he that popular in your market? Or do you try to sign him? And if you can't sign him, do you trade him at the deadline next year to help another team get deep into the Stanley Cup playoffs? And then you know what you get? You get more assets. You get more draft picks, which seems to be the the currency of the day for George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon.
Because Todd, I don't know, like the competitive thing. As long as they've already got a sizzle. Nowadays, there's a sizzle. So it used to be expansion teams. Some of them in any sport, it was just stick with us, half-filled buildings, and we're going to get better. I just think they're all going to be celebrities just because they are in the first year Vegas Golden Knights, and so I agree with you the competitive element that way. But I think they got about 2 years anyway that are kind of free.
Well,
from the fans.
I understand what you guys are saying, and I'm on board with you. I think that they should, make no mistake, I believe they should build it through the draft, and that's how you're going to have long-term sustainability. But I'm just saying that there's got to be that element of entertainment right out of the gates. And I know you think you have a two.
So would you take a Camilleri, for example? Would you take a Bobby Ryan?
That's a tough one at $5 million at 35 years.
But I mean, Bobby Ryan's out there, $7.25 million over 5 years.
I mean, they've got to get to the cap floor, right? So it's $55 million. Is that right?
54, yeah.
It's 54. So they got to get to that. But the other thing about it, you don't want to take on those big, massive contracts. Now I'm speaking from both sides of my mouth right now, but you've got to have some sort of entertainment value. That's what I'm saying. And if they can do that, and I'm sure they've figured it all out, they've got everything on the board, they know what they're doing. But Mike Camilleri I would stay away from. But I just think that you do have some guys need to be picked up for the fans' purpose to be able to put some points on the boards, get some goals. But I mean, it's a slippery slope when you're going down with.
Now the last 4 expansion teams, Shanny, help me with my memory. I do remember there were always a sad sack team. Okay, the Ottawa Senators were a sad sack team. I think Vancouver really wasn't compared to Buffalo. Did okay. Islanders were actually for the first year or two.
Islanders were awful.
Washington, Kansas City Scouts, abominations. Never had a chance to get going. Winnipeg, when they joined from the WHA, 2 road wins in 1 season.
Different world there because like for instance, the Edmonton Oilers got to protect Wayne Gretzky. So that expansion, the 79 quote-unquote
then they had
expansion.
Then they had 3 of the best drafts ever from 79 to 81.
Right.
To add to, but you're right. They got to start with Gretzky.
Yeah. So, I mean, the 4 WHA teams, I think that merger is – I think we should throw those out with the bathwater.
But none of the recent ones.
No, they're not fair. I mean, awful. I mean, Florida's team was as close to a reasonable franchise early on because Roger Nielsen coached it and made it a good team. But he wasn't going to get it to the next level, which is why he got let go. But you look at Florida, you look at Tampa, Ottawa, Nashville, Minnesota, Columbus, all of them, had tough times.
But if you're paying $500 million for a team right now, you should hope that they're going to get that advantage of being more of a competitive team. And I think that's exactly what Gary's done with this, making sure that they have the opportunity to build somewhat of a competitive team.
We're still talking about when you talk about, if you've protected 11 and 1, and your first and second year pros don't count, you're still talking about the 14th, 15th, 16th best players on your team that are available. With all due respect to some of the guys on the club, I mean this is one of the hard things to do at this point. Now this is the first time that we've had an expansion in the cap era, which has made it a little bit different, a little bit more challenging.
You know what what it's turned into is George McPhee is basically essentially running an auction right now, too, if you really think about it.
Well, I call him a secret shopper.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He's a secret shopper.